So my name is Herbert Schildhuis. I'm the Global Director for Health and Safety in Heineken. That's a department that falls within HR in Heineken International. I'm a medical doctor by background, and I've been working with Heineken for about 10 years now. Before that, I was working for the Ministry of Health, working amongst other things on prevention. Now, Heineken is really a global company. And in the Netherlands, we have two Heinekens, let's say. We have the Heineken of the Netherlands that produces beer and many other products. But we also have Heineken International, which in fact is head office for a global company which has around 80,000 employees everywhere, produces lots of different brands, and produces, manufactures in about 70 countries. And we have 170 production sites. So it's quite a big and diverse company, and somehow a focus that we have is on developing countries, which makes it a bit of a different company and also makes health and safety in that company somehow different to some other places like the Netherlands. So traditionally, we have had very much a focus on health and healthcare, making it possible for us as a company to work in quite complicated circumstances in developing countries. But you see also that more and more we are focusing also on wellness. The wellness, well-being, vitality, the health of the workers separate from the health related to the work itself. Of course, we do. So I said we do a number of things. Healthcare in developing countries is important. Alcohol is another thing that, of course, is very important for us. It's a risk factor for many health-related issues, and specifically, of course, if you're working in an alcohol company, you need to take responsibility. You need to make sure that employees know how to use alcohol, and of course, also we try to market alcohol in a responsible way externally, but that also means something for our behavior and our programs internally, and they link very much to health. Now, as a company, we don't have a global wellness program or policy. So wellness is something which, for us, sits within different operating companies, but we do report on it. We do ask our operating companies to report on their wellness activities, and then we report those externally, for instance, in our sustainability report. But we also use that information to try to support operating companies in improving their wellness activities. And I'll explain a bit more about how we try to do that. Our health and safety programs sit, as I said, within HR to a certain extent, but they are reported externally in our sustainability report, and we link them to, I think as many companies are doing at the moment, to the Sustainable Development Goals. And there are two important ones. Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which really looks at health, and the other one is Sustainable Development Goal number 8, which looks at decent work. So the workplace as a place where people should be able to live a healthy life and which is safe enough, and where working conditions are conducive to the health and well-being of the worker. What we do within Heineken Global Head Office is we have a program called Fit at Heineken. That's not really a very imaginative name, but everybody can understand what it's about. So it's clear. But what we try to do in there is to find the right balance in terms of activities in relation to the issues that the workforce has. And actually, mostly that's quite the same. And I'll come back to that. We divide our program into a mental fitness part and a physical fitness part, and that has, we did quite a lot of research internally to determine what would fit well with our company, and this is a very classical division between mental and physical, but it works well for our company. But you see sometimes people try to integrate that more, and that is possible. We also try to find a balance between things that address individual behavior or the individual and the environment in which people are working. And I think that's very important, and you should see that back in many programs, because you need to find ways, you cannot only address the individual worker and try to change behavior based on that, you need to also change the environment. And for instance, we do that for health, for mental fitness, by offering individual programs that try to boost resilience or try to help people to work in a more, in this case, mindful way. So we do quite a lot of mindfulness, but there are also other programs. But at the same time, we train our managers to recognize what stressful situations are and how to deal with those and how to address stress problems with individual workers. For physical fitness, we have similar balances, and of course they revolve around activity, nutrition, and smoking, and obviously alcohol in our case. Now, if we look at, because I'm supposed to talk about the business case or the business benefits, there is a kind of a scheme or a way in which that's looked at. This is the way that the World Health Organization looks at the benefits of, or at least what they call workplace health promotion. So what are the benefits of workplace health promotion? And there are two aspects to it: for the individual worker, and for the organization. So better working conditions. I'm just going to take water. So obviously, one is around organizational outcomes, and there they look at less costs in terms of absenteeism, accidents and illnesses, improved company image, maybe better position in the labor market, less turnover, better job retention, higher productivity. These are things which people will recognize who've been active in wellness, vitality, and health promotion. The individual outcomes are very much related to that: less accidents, less illness, improved health status, better quality of life, more job satisfaction. These are supposed to interact and finally improve company performance and then also achieve the company goals in a better way. And I think this is the model that we have around workplace health promotion, wellness, vitality. There are other reasons why people feel it's important to do something about health and wellness. I think the importance is increasing. Healthy aging is an important driver in Europe and in the Netherlands, for instance. The increasing cost of healthcare in many countries is an important part of this as well. And I think millennials especially have expectations from companies. They just want a company, they expect a company to do something about health and wellness. For us, we've gone through a journey as Heineken, and I think in the beginning it was felt that health and wellness was an individual responsibility. It is your role as an individual. You know everything, so you should make sure that you remain healthy and well. And bit by bit, we've changed that. And I think one of the things that people really understood was that if in the workplace it's not possible for you to do something about your own health, it's very difficult to really remain healthy. You spend half your waking life at work, which means that if you want to do something about your health, you also have to be able to do it at work. And I think people understand it very well and thereby start to help to create an environment in which people can be active. And again, I think it's been very helpful that a lot of companies have subscribed to the Sustainable Development Goals, where this is also part and parcel of the sustainability. A lot of companies are investing in wellness in one way or another, and I've put a few companies here in there. You recognize Shell, Unilever, Accenture, and maybe some of those companies are also here. What are the drivers, or what are the reasons why people want to do something about health at work? We've seen a couple externally, but also, let's say, the health of the workforce, the health of the population is really important. So we see sickness absence, which is driven by mostly, actually, this is some data from UK, is mostly driven by minor illnesses, by musculoskeletal problems, which people will recognize, also by stress and anxiety. So minor, small things which cause short-term illness and disability. That's the numbers of people who are ill is driven by that. Now, what we see more in general, that especially long-term disability, long-term illness, early retirement, early stopping working is much more driven by other illnesses. And these are what we call chronic diseases, and those are driven by lifestyle factors. And that's, for instance, diet, high blood pressure, tobacco use, all these kind of things, and I think you know that very well, are linked to some of the chronic illnesses, and that's what we try to address with our workplace wellness programs. Now, this is a little bit of a complicated slide, but I like it very much, this one actually. But so what this shows is what people. What it shows is the disability-adjusted life years of two different parts of the population in Western Europe. And one is the disability-adjusted life years is a measure, it's a combination measure for years lost due to early death and years lost due to disability. So it combines sickness and death, early death. And it's used very, very much by lots of organizations and international, in this case, for instance, the Global Burden of Disease study in the Lancet. And it shows a lot about what people are ill from and what they die from early. Now, in the case of younger people, as you'll see, it's so these are the working age population. It's not specific working population, but working age population, because we don't have very good data for the working age, for the workforce. But what you see that a lot of people are ill or die, but let's say mostly ill in the younger age groups from back and neck problems, from things related to musculoskeletal problems, and from psychological issues, depression, anxiety, drugs. Whereas as people get older, that part becomes much smaller. And actually we see something which was quite insignificant relatively in causing illness and disease, which is heart disease, stroke, lung cancer. So chronic illnesses in the younger population become much more significant in the older population. But we know, so that means that there are very good reasons in the younger population to think about doing something about mental health and musculoskeletal problems. At the same time, we also know that the issues that we see here, so this big group of heart diseases and chronic illnesses, they are linked to behaviors which start at that younger age. So we have to think about that when we're setting up our programs. And this is, of course, what we want to reduce. These effects, population effects, we try to look at having effective programs for reducing those risks. Okay, so now we come to how do we link this information to the business? Sometimes people think about return on investment or cost reduction, and that's quite a difficult thing. We see, for instance, quite a lot of data on that, but there's always a big difference between what you see in the United States and the rest of the world. The US has a very special healthcare system where the role of companies is also very special, and there it's very often financially attractive to try to do prevention and try to reduce illness, which is much less the case in the rest of the world. So a lot of data that we see on cost reduction when it comes from the US, you can't really translate that to the situation in Western Europe or in other countries so much. Then we look, and there are also opportunity costs in terms of where do you put your money? How do you make money as a company? Do you do that by investing, such as Heineken, in a new brewery, or do you do that by investing in the health and well-being of your workforce? Now, for investing in a brewery, we know very well how to do that. We know very well how much money we're going to make. So it's much easier for us to understand what that is going to deliver rather than investing in the health of the workforce. Although we all find it important, but it's difficult to make the ROI on that one. Sorry. Now then, the health of the workforce. We can measure that. We can try to look at it and try to improve. But there's always a lot of selection bias. At least I know that in the data that we have on our workforce, not everybody comes for medical checkups. So is it the sick people that come, or is it the healthy people that come? It all has influence on what we know. Furthermore, we see that as people age, in any case, they're going to get less healthy. So if we're measuring year on year, what do we measure? We also don't know. If there are new people coming in, young people coming in, that also influences a lot. And then we work in an international company trying to use absenteeism as a measure of where health can be gained. Is also very difficult because definitions differ from place to place, especially driven by legal requirements or legal aspects. And then we look at other aspects which could be driving, or which could link to health and wellness, and could support the business case. And that's, for instance, things like aging workforce, being an attractive employer, engagement, presenteeism, all these aspects. It's very difficult to find good instruments to measure those. So you see that there also we lack good data that can support our business case. And very often these are longer term effects, so in the short term you don't really get good information. So we've had quite a lot of issues around. Everybody realizes that it's important to do something about wellness, but what to do it, how to measure it, and how to build up your case has been quite a challenge. Now we also look at sustainability and the sustainability aspects of health and well-being and health and wellness. And there we see some developments lately. I don't know if some of you are involved in sustainability, but there is an international, what they call Global Reporting Initiative, and that standardizes the reporting requirements for sustainability. And a lot of companies use that. And we've been involved in trying to improve the health and safety standard for that. So Global Reporting Initiative, I've stolen some slides from them. It's about, they have quite a few different standards for sustainability, and one is about health and safety. And so far it only included occupational health and safety, but from July onwards it will also include wellness and health in general. So as you see, it's about 4,000 companies and others that are using that data. And the idea is that companies report their sustainability information in a standardized format, and that can then be used by other organizations, by indexes, etc., to benchmark companies and to use that information for their reports and their comparisons, with the idea that this will also drive improvements in sustainability in general, but also in health and wellness. Good. What does this standard do? It asks you as a company to describe your wellness program, your health promotion program, your vitality program, whatever you call it. It all revolves around the same kind of thing. Explaining which risks you are addressing and why. So making sure that you're addressing the major risks which are important in your company, and then describe how the topics are selected. Of course, how workers are involved and how these topics are addressed. There's a lot of focus on trying to do what they call evidence-based interventions, and there's a World Health Organization framework that's very helpful in that. It asks you also to explain which metrics you are using. Now, this is an example of how that would work. So this is the WHO Healthy Workplace Framework. It's something that was written at some stage, and we know, of course, there are lots and lots of developments. So you can't use it as a Bible. It's more sort of a guidance on what kind of things work in the workplace and which things are important. Now here I've put a number of parts that you see in that guidance, and you will see that in many cases the companies that are offering health and safety or wellness type of interventions, they combine several of these things. And I think it's something that we know. You need to always have a combination of various interventions to be able to be effective. One-offs don't work at all. As I said, individual and environment need to be combined, and we see some examples of that here. Good. I'm trying to round off now. So what are the business benefits of health and wellness? I think everybody understands that it's about a healthy and productive workforce. It's about things related to aging workforce. It can very well be about employer brand and employee engagement. It may be about saving costs or an ROI, but many of these things are really difficult to really measure in a meaningful way and help you to support that business case. So I think a lot of it is that we feel we have to do the right thing when we're talking about health and wellness. That's clear for us also. It's within Heineken, it's not about the cost, it's because we want to do it. But then it doesn't have to, I mean, if it costs too much, we're not going to do it. So there has to be the right balance. And we also have to find the right mix of interventions that's really going to prove to improve the health and well-being of the workforce. That's really going to have an effect on whichever markers we are going to choose. Now, and I think for that, as I mentioned, the sustainability approach is probably very useful. It's going to help you to create measures that will help you to improve, saying, okay, what are other companies doing in a balanced way, and one which is also being organized and arranged by other companies. So in that respect, I think from an HR perspective, it's also very important to work together with your sustainability colleagues. That is my story. I think we have questions, but I think they're going to be at the end of all the talks. So thank you very much.